The Enneagram number 2 archetype, the helper. Hello, this is Chris speaking. Wake up with another video about the Enneagram, this time archetype disposition number 2, the helper. Also called the altruist, the lover, the caretaker, the pleaser, the enabler, the special friend, everybody's darling. On the spiritual path, number 2 is probably the type that most easily makes a spiritual impression on others. He's so altruistic. She's not even thinking about him or herself. They're doing everything for others. Yeah, seva, selflessness, karma yoga, no problem. But as a 2, you actually have to stop helping others. That's the most important thing for you to progress on the spiritual path. Stop helping others. Just stop it. I mean, of course, if there's an emergency, someone is drowning right in front of you and you can pull him or her out of the water, fine. But otherwise, stop helping. Also, if you have any helping profession, like nurse or psychologist, stop it. Do something else. If you're living in an ashram or a community, and you do all kinds of things for others all the time, stop it. You have to become more selfish, more egoistic. Because that's your worst aspect, to lose yourself in helping others. You will never do anything for yourself. And it still looks very spiritual because you do things for others all the time, but not out of real altruism or spiritual maturity or selflessness, but out of fear of being unloved and unwanted. You want to feel loved. For you, relationships are the most important thing. Other people. Without friends and family, you would wither and die. Or maybe even codependent. You have a very unfriendly or unhealthy relationship with your spouse or whatever, and you think, well, if I'm nice enough, he or she will change. No, he won't. You're just enabling their negative behavior. Number 2s only feel good if they get the feedback from others that they're being needed. At the same time, they're very possessive. They expect something. I do all these things for you, and what do I get back from you? Stop people-pleasing. Stop being everybody's darling. Stop being the nice guy or nice girl. Say your opinion. Say what you mean what you say. You are okay. You're wonderful as you are. You don't have to prove it. You don't have to do anything for others to be loved. And if you happen to be in any kind of relationship where this is expected of you, that you work your ass off and be very understanding and tolerant to be loved, then this is a very unhealthy relationship. This is codependency. Get out of it. You're very endangered to attract narcissists and psychopaths. So let's have a quick look at 2s on the spiritual path in history. Ramesh Balsekar, Eli Jackson Bear. Jordan Peterson has some 2 qualities. Paul Morgan Summers, also Walt Whitman, Wilhelm Reich, Lalaji, one of the founders of Sahaj Mark. Well, Don Richard Riso mentions Mother Teresa, Albert Schweitzer. Could be, but there could be something else as well. But that certainly fits the picture. Mother Teresa and Albert Schweitzer certainly do fit the picture. We have the 2 with the 1 wing, called the servant. They combine this selflessness with a sense of morality. So it creates a very strong sense of empathy for the suffering of humanity. They're the good Samaritans. And then we have the 2 with a 3 wing, the host or hostess. They're very good at networking, at making connections. They're very charming and very ambitious, and they have a lot of friends. Friends are the most important things for them in the world. And friends is not very well defined. They might introduce people to you as friends who are not friends. They're just acquaintances, but they like to think of themselves as having a lot of friends. They usually need one or two besties also. Some best friend forever who they can talk to every day. 2s, 3s and 4s are very emotional. They want attention, and as I've said before in the last video, the 2s want to earn that attention and love. They need a special friend or to be a special friend to someone. They like to flatter others, make compliments, manipulate their pride, but also they can easily be flattered. They have huge boundary issues. They cannot set boundaries, feel boundaries. They let others step over their boundaries very quickly and very frequently. In relationships, they can be very needy and clingy, but also very good listeners, of course. People like them for pouring their heart out to them over the telephone. But they can also be possessive. Yeah, they have a sense, a half-conscious sense that they give so much, so they do want something in return. If 2s get stressed, they go towards number 8 and become even more possessive and argumentative, aggressive, blunt, domineering, and they're very afraid of betrayal. The path of integration, the positive path, the positive direction for the 2 is to go towards number 4, interestingly. Becoming even more emotional, but they're then able to feel and recognize their emotions and their boundaries. They can feel the anger coming, for example, before it builds up and explodes. They find methods of self-expression for themselves, like music or dance or any other physical activity or even mental activity, so that they don't need others so much anymore. The suspicion of the 4 is very good for the 2. So don't worry if you do things more for yourself. It will feel initially very egoistic to you if you're number 2. But that's okay. Do it anyway. You have to find your way, what works for you, what's good for you, what feels right for you, without taking others into consideration. You're not everybody's mom or everybody's best friend. Red flags for number 2s are eating disorders or hypochondriasis, somatization, stalking even, manipulating and coercing others, obsessive love, or the other side, codependency, like I mentioned. So first step is for you to work on your boundaries, to find your boundaries, what are they, and then to set them and defend them. I have seen this countless times on people who start the spiritual path, who are in spiral dynamics green or yellow, and then suddenly discover their boundaries and then forcefully defend them in a cuckoo way. So at first you don't have any boundaries, and then suddenly you set huge, thick steel walls of boundaries, huge castles. And when you start your spiritual journey, sometimes you become too suspicious and overreact. And someone might just ask you something and you think you're being exploited and end a friendship. That's the boundary pendulum into the other direction, the other extreme. This is also not what you have to do, but you might have to do it to find your boundary. You might have to pendulum oscillate back and forth a little bit before you find the healthy boundary. The triad of the 2s, the 4s and the 6s, they need to build up a little bit of ego first before they can give anything up, before they can destroy the ego. Also, another thing I've seen with colleagues on the spiritual path is number twos that tend to go very deeply, very extremely inside something. For example, they can meditate for days without eating anything. In coral, for example, spiral dynamics coral, when the two goes through coral, he or she can spend weeks and months going deeply into the suffering and overdoing it a little bit. Don't forget your basic physical needs. You have to learn how to care for yourself, not just for others. Or less for others and more for yourself. Okay, thank you for joining me as a Patreon. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you all to all my Patreons. Thank you for sharing the videos with your friends. Hit the bell button and see you soon.